Blessings. Welcome forward to Reasonings right here at the Tree of Life. I'm your host, the Great Owl, right here on Tree of Life Television Network. And we are continuing our series, Kinematic Masters of Deception. And this would be the 5th installment. Yes, believe it or not, 5 videos. By the time this video is out, the second part of that abrupt video that ended would have been uploaded, and we would have finished up on the musical augmentation, abridged edit, and we moved on also to the internet. And at this point we are going to put all that together in a more seamless stream of contiguous flow so that you can understand. So we're just going to do an overview, and then we're going to move into what we're going to talk about today, which really, if time allows, we'll get to it. If not, it's going to be another video, because it's a series and we're going to go through all this series. So the kinematic edits, or augmenting people into a prevailing ideology, has been around, as I have observed it or I've been taught, from pre-European times. However, the emphasis on the kinematics was to maintain the order of specificity as it relates to sacred things. So people within these sacred groupings would have been augmented and edited. They were slightly different from others, not because biologically or psychologically they were different. The kinematic of old inverted them because they needed to see altered dimensions, right? They needed to see other dimensions within the astral space. So it was a completely different thing, and that's where I have observed its origin or its function outside of European context. When Europeans rose to power, the Edomites rose to power, it became a tool to subjugate us, the Moabites, the Moorish, the Yehudi, the Aboriginals who've been here. We are the people, right, of earth, of terra firma, of paradise. We are the original genes that have survived through all this time. And so here in the Americas has been the greatest concentration of our magnificent civilization. And when the Europeans rose after the fall of Andalus, now called Spain, which is a Moorish empire, then the Aboriginals, Moors, Moabites, Yehudis, and all the nation states of their own understanding lost their sovereign autonomy, because now militarily they were overrun. And I have done several videos, but I'll just give you a sneak peek as to why they were overrun. Nothing comes crashing down. The rise of European education, interbreeding, intermingling, they came into royalty, they conglomerated power, and then began to go for the thrones, hallelujah, and they won. And they came for the vassal states of these empires here in the North Gate. And so through the Dum Devasi, the papal bull, you know, and Shekevi, or the Keskevi trust, they took away our rights, made us lost at sea, dead. You know, 3/5 human means they can do anything to us. They can tell us a blatant lie of our origins, mess up our complete telemetry and self-awareness, and completely wreck our outlook. But however, our ancestors who first experienced this knew that even though they were being beaten into a foreign language, foreign ideology, different state of consciousness and existence, they had to preserve something. And so they would pass it on in what we at Tree of Life refer to as the heartbeat, hallelujah, telegraphics. And that is a secret language between the genetics of kin. They call it epigenetics, just to refer to our trauma, to misguide us, because they can't deny it genetically. So they embarked on a amazingly evil process of basically editing our genes by several means and augmenting us into a straw man, taking us out of the natural person, which I already explained. We already had our nation state's destiny identity in Yod He Vav He. We weren't savages or people who were devoid of God. That's just an absolute lie. Neither did we worship demons, right? Zero. There were demon sects. There were dark sects amongst us. And I said that battle that ensued with the cymatic warfare or the sound warfare was a cosmic battle of light versus shadow. And that ensued in all times. Let's get that clear. So when we lost our rights of our estates, we became non-descendable. Now our ancestors transferred this through the heartbeat telegraphics, or our genetic memory. And so we still somehow knew that what we were being told is a lie. But they made sure through the Gutenberg Revolution that the books that we read, that they copied from our actual text, were falsified, edited, gave us a false concept of ourselves, replaced us with themselves, and replaced themselves with us. And so we became the beggar, the sluggard, the scum of the earth, the vagabond, to wander upon this earth as servants, because we lost our estates and we have believed this lie. And many go into their institution of devolution to be devolved into a perfect, as our cultural mother, Miss Lou, would say, into a perfect idiot. So after losing your complete ancient gnosis and self-identity, you become this straw man, this clown actually, parading for entertainment of everyone who knows themselves. Because it's funny, because you're showing them absolutely how never to be, but absolutely how to be when they want to cut loose just for a moment from the restrictions of the principled lives they have to live to maintain wealth, success, well-being, and a good family. Hallelujah. They act a fool like us for a while, only for a while. The theater give rise through what we call choreography. And from that choreography, theatrics, drama is abstracted, that now becomes the visual audiovisual spectrum of the reprographic motion capture. But we're going to get to that. So we had the theater with theatrics showing us to be servants to these white demigods, saying that they're demigods, right? Or gods, or gods, right? And so this theatrics now seep down into us, trying to show us an image of what we were not, but what we thought we were, because they took away true gnosis. And because we thought we were this, we aspire to be like the Mark Anthonys and the Cleopatras and the Caesars of their grand production. And then from the theatrical through the Gutenberg, we had the printed press. And so because of that reproductive capacity to photocopy the italics, the images, onto paper, record, so you can now store them in the modern sense of this now developing, empire. And so the Gutenberg brought the bonded books, the pamphlets, the newspapers, the magazines. And then a few hundred years later came the discovery of photographic, reprographic reproduction. Because through the printing of the books, they learned reprography, reproduction, and they could scribe an image, carve an image in wood, do the typeface, and reproduce that image, that lettering on paper. They could make pamphlets, signs, advertising. Whoa, now the augmentation got out of control. Everybody vying now for a place in the greater mind of all around, but especially the mind of those in servitude, because the colonialization of the mind was harvesting that epigenetical knowledge, gnosis, and power without remuneration from these prisoners of war, enslaved aboriginals in serfdom, slave ship. These augmentation got out of control because of the loss of identity. So few of us could read. So few of us were allowed to read. The higher classes amongst the Moors that signed on to these trades, because they were already trading in Europeans, serfs and eunuchs, little choir boys. You think this little altar boy tradition started in Europe? Castrating young men? Eunuch? No nuts? You squeal, how? Who? Ow! Scholars and scribes that would later infiltrate and become the secret societies of the European rise. That's what undid the Moors. Talk about it. Let's talk about it. So now, we didn't know ourselves in this time. These banners, these posters reinforced the European deception. They were now able to have it in imagery. You didn't have to go to the theater. It was on every corner now. And so the augmentation went on. Reproduction got to another level. But with photographic, reproduction, you could capture an image in light and shadow, black and white. Notwithstanding though, previously to that capture that we were now in awe of, wow, this is you, this is how you look at, now you can look at yourself in that motion capture. For that moment, you're like, wow, I look so wonderful. And you could stage photos for your families. Nobilities, they used to pose for portraits before, but now you could take pictures, and now in black and white, you were like loving it, but it's only black and white. And you were forgetting, oh, the spectrum of the colors, oh, the colors, colors of the life, colors of her life, colors of our lives. Forgetting the colors of our lives. All around is blue, yellow, reds and greens, pink, purple, great and ginger. Oh, so blushing green, oh, so luscious grays and black, thick, creamy, frothy. Oh my God, the colors of the rainbow spectrum, purple, green and glow, golden, golden, golden. So all you know is black and white, photographic reproduction, and now we are stuck in this image playing in our minds now. We're so entranced with it. The same reprographic energy became the fast reprographic photographic motion capture. The cameras evolved, and so they did not have sound, but the silent fools, the Charlotte Chaplins, Chappling, loosen up, coupling, afraid of radiation low, we're gone into zombie mode, we're zombies. That silent picture, picturing some buffoonery, because it's choreography, cinematography, the photographic, reproductive. It's a moment, it's a capture. Notice with a picture, the photographer tells you the moment has to be staged. They have to be there to capture that moment. All that you see is an orchestration. Hallelujah. That's called the choreography. In the drama that I alluded to before, there's plot and character, and I spoke about the characteristics being abstracted as character. And so now the motion story now got you into another level of being so caught up in a moment when all around is the eternal moment, and we feel inadequate with the actuality. But the fictitious, the fiction entices us. The fictitious person, the idea that you are somebody else, is far more entrancing to you than the reality of your actual self. We've become so accustomed to emulating these characters, being caught up in these dramas, these dramatization filled with theatrics that are just the augmentation, because they're transmitting these images into your subconscious. But way before these images were transmitted through this rapid motion capture on black and white, on the silent big screens, the radio transmitter towers were sending signals, sound frequency, carrying on the philosophies of people like Immanuel Kant, of Karl Marx, of Engels, of Oppenheimer, of all their theories, or the Austinian theory in command perspective, or the authoritative perspective of law, that law is enshrined in the monarch or the king or the people who seize power, and by force of armament and munitions is forcing you to follow dictates and saying that is lawful. Command theories, right? Or people like Lon L. Fuller or H.L.A. Hart, who are natural law theorists like that would correlate the Nuremberg rulings on natural law, that the natural person is rooted in the moral law given by Yod He Vav He, given by the divine creator, is enshrined in the biological, astrological, electromagnetic function of your being. You do not have to be taught that. You have to experience that, express that, be sovereign in that expression. And it is sanguine. But we were edited out, especially as the technology improved. The radio transmission towers was just about transmitting frequency, just like the sound frequencies. It was just about transmitting frequencies. And so, because if you look on that circuit board of the old transistor radio, they had an analog transmission system that was 432. It was more in alignment with the energy frequency bands, not just of terra firma, of the earth, but of the human being, of your living being. Human is still an interpretation. So we're going to have an interchange. So when I say living being, you know what I'm talking about. So these energy frequencies that were transmitted through cymatics, that were now codified through electromagnetic energy capture through magnets on the circuit board. It was analog. And the cities of the ancient world was laid out in an analog cymatic. That was 432, harmonious. It is the circadian that harmonized everything, that the buildings vibrated on a frequency that was healthy, like the sheet of your consciousness, your physical cloak. But with the augmentation, the bands became digitalized. And so the digitalized spectrum increased the ability to edit entire spectrum of emotions, knowledge, gnosis that was coming through the plants, through your ancestors, through your great-great-great-grandparents, through the animals, through the entire entangled environment that was edited out and presented through the spectrum of radio, television, internet. And we're talking about those that capture the audio and the audio waves and the audio visual spectrum. We're talking about those in this specific moment. So the transmission that was from the analog, the radio, the original configuration of the radio waves, the understanding of the radio waves, the cities were laid out like that, harmonious to your living being. Our aboriginal cities, Moorish, Moabites, Yehudi cities, Taino cities in Amaka, was harmonious in cymatic alignment to the whole cosmos, the whole living cosmos. No universalist theory. The living cosmos, no one world theory. The living cosmos. Now to these circuit board, electric city augment we have now. These boring chips, these microprocessors that are sending so much disorienting cold cathode frequency like the neon light, the catharsis is death. But the analog was anode, burning fire. I'm in the fire, baby. Living man, I've got my own internal sun. Living son of the cycle, living son of the cycle, living son of the cycle. Ooh yeah. No recycled plastic, no recycled demographic. Ooh yeah. Majority, not minority. So, the frequency transmission was far different. It was melanocyte, melodic, but now it is carbon, chaotic, chaos theorem, unstable, atomic. We were celestial, circadian, harmonious, vibrations, harmony, paradise. Ooh, she's so nice. She smiles, the right light, the right vibe, because she's paradise. I am paradise, hallelujah. Those transmitted a different frequency, altering the hertz to 440, taking us out of the 7.8 hertz, switching up the kilohertz, the megahertz, and the ultra hertz, making us really hurt, changing our skin tone, our texture of our skin, the way we atomize energy through the melanocytes, which are really magnetites, magnetic for electromagnetic resonation in this emanation, dissemination, yeah. This transmission now becoming digital, or editing, augmenting, internet. Now it's the World Wide Web. Now so much different versions of distortion can be absorbed. Now it can become gluttonous with perfusion, with perversion. So the augmentation continues. They praise the empty, soulless, mindless, heartless vibrations. That's what they taught us to do. Headbangers. That's what they taught us to do. Devalue everything that is actual. By the time the reprographic, photographic became the magazines, as I said, just seeing that image so vivid, now in Technicolor. Oh my God, I got you on a forum. Naked lady, play by Playboy Bunny, play by Playbook, naked lady, forum, They got your eyes bulging out your head. So now they could market to a previously unmarketable generation, which was young boys and girls. The pornographic industry, just like the cigarette industry. Advertising, 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 baby. Before you couldn't allow minors in the brothels, but now you could sell them the brothel in a magazine. Zing. And so that became the advertising of the high quality, resonant. It wasn't just like that black and white with a little color of, you know, that age before with the fancy, you know, what we call calligraphy. No, it was laminate reprography. Photographic reproduction. You had that laminate quality, so it looks more lifelike. What they missed from the black and whites, and they were excited. And yeah, the magazines, you name them, from the Life to the Newsweek, they got us in a mind sweep, and they told us what the world was like in Technicolor, just about the right time for television to have color. Technicolor, baby. And no more black and white shadows. You could see your augmenters, your minders, your handlers in live and living color. And it was all white. And it wasn't all right. But you had to accept it, because you said you were nobody, of no worth. And by the way, not all Aboriginals said that. There were many who knew the truth because the epigenetic was too strong. Our ancestors preserved the gnosis. It wasn't just about books. And so there were campaigns to eradicate them, to vilify them, to infiltrate them, and that goes on to this day. So there's nothing new under the sun where that is concerned. They take out the original person and claim that this pupil of his has his gnosis, has his knowledge, and all of a sudden that pupil is telling you everything, hallelujah, contrary to what the great teacher taught. And they have access to the teacher's book and you don't have it. You're reading an interpretation of the actual story of the Mashiach. You're reading Matthew, Mark, Luke and John, Matthew, Mark, Paul and John, Matthew, Mark, Paul and John, Luke and John. And you don't listen to John the Harbinger, to the actual words of Emmanuel, because it couldn't have been Jesus or Jesus or Jesus or Jesus. Emmanuel. So did the teachings of Emmanuel. And you recognize a lot of things that they're saying ain't real. He told us already. Now we just have to pay attention and go back and see what they have done. Just pay attention. You see the synagogue of Satan. They're playing out right before your eyes, but you don't believe because you're not connecting to that DNA, heartbeat telegraphics, that ancestral memory. You don't love your ancestors. You believe, according to what the Christian codes taught you, that they are backward, cannibals, self-haters, destructive, evil, that built nothing, did nothing. You so believe it, you got doctorates and PhD and studying your own people as somebody else, and all the signs is pointing to black and comely skin like brass, burnt in the fire, burnished brass, and you don't want to see it. You're still lying to yourself and saying these whitewash Shejar Bujia and talking about all these dark philosophies is you. Oh, we are some dark continent and we're coming from some dark astral body in the astral. Whoa. You don't see your creator in yourself, and you're the original man and woman, the living being, the living person. You believe some lettering on a piece of paper, some modern papyrus. You believe the spells of etymology, which is just spelling you into confusion and selflessness, making you non-descendable. Television brought us these versions of ourselves. Then we came over into the internet. Now we have the metanet. When the video games technology took off now, because we got the screen technology, now we know we could put a little image up on it and again carry ideas into these little images that we're placing in the children's mind, and they're acting out ancient creeds of blood oaths, because that's what the game is about. The Jumanji, Alan Parish, they perish, going into these dimensions of augmentation, knocking us too, because here we are not loving ourselves, the beauty of paradise retained as your natural life. You want to be in harmony with the trees and nature? Well, stop thinking that they're here to serve you, and stop thinking like the philosophies that supported saying we are non-humans and that animals, could be expropriated for food and clothing and whatever else they choose to do in any means, by any means necessary. Do the same to us, do the same to the environment, toxify it, destroy it, and then say they're going to live in the next dimension when space is time. So if they're going to space, it's another time they're going to. This is what we must understand. Please understand these things, understand these things. So they're going to wreak havoc on another timeline. These so-called Mandela effects, when these colliders are turned on, editing the entire reality of the living beings here. Those who worship in spirit and in truth. And this is what this series is about. To go forward to your living being and live from your being. Respect your ancestors, the sovereignty of your being. Because these Matrix, Resurrection 4, or whatever they are, documentaries of documenters of tormentors, transhumanic agendas, this Pinocchio pedophilic, satanic sexual perversion system, sacrificial system of cannibalism being told to us as the Disney fables, right? All about witches and warlocks. When are you going to wake up and see? That's what you're indoctrinating your children into. To be demons, imps, witches, trolls. Yeah, trolls. Trolls the demon, they know on the internet, because they're demons, interconnecting demons. Trolling. Fairies too. Cosplay. Demonic. Augmenting. Now you are a cartoon character. You're furry wuzzy buzzy. You're freebie BB with a tail. Weak swacky, whoa, woozy, woolly. Cosplay, ooh, look at her tail, ooh, cute. Dumbing down, numbing down, dumbing down. The word says, can you be any more dumb? But your eyes have been covered. You've gone into the wilderness of great sin and mess. You lost until you profess and confess that you've been repressed and you've been suppressed, and now it's time to come out from under the printed press, the ink press on the inkjet, bubble jet, hologramic project, astral, cyborg, sidestep, alternative, altering the native. So the creative spirit in us is just the harmony of life. It is musical. It is all the spectrum. Hallelujah. It is all the colors. It is everything. It is the actual thing. And believe it or not, we didn't make it. We make disharmony according to what they have taught us. And they don't want to live like that. They just want us to live like that, so they can enjoy the beauty. But I say we full joy the fullness. And the next time you just think about going to the cinema to be choreographed into the cinematique, that cinematography of kinematic editing, you go away thinking you're not adequate enough. You're too this, you're too that. He's too that, she's too this. Society is too this, it's too pluralist, it's too this, it's too centrist. It's too decadent. Well, it is. But it's also loving, kind. Because it's not just the ideologies. It's you. It's us in principle. By principle. as principle. It is us in the actuality of the natural law. Do unto others as you have them do unto you. Living according to the joys you hold as natural and self-evident. Doesn't need to be debated. Doesn't need to be thesis and antithesis. It's just self-evident. It's natural. You can see where I'm at. You can develop a philosophy around where I'm at. You can say many things, but the actuality is just as where I'm at. And understanding yourself is just like that. Seeing the living person before all this ideology, beliefs, deportments, demeanor, all design. I am, therefore I think. I know it's there, so I notice it's there. I notice it's there, so I know it's there. When we are depending on others to relate the story to us, it becomes embellished, edited, abridged, augmented. People add things, take things out, and they don't want to see the consequence of lying to a generation. The projects, poverty, violent music, movies, images, self-images, mentality, mindsets, behaviors. Our communities, our commune has lost union. It's separatist and destructive. Nothing like the millennia before. So who's got it right and who's got it wrong? It's obvious. But if you are sovereign, speak the truth, cost it what it will. Don't seek for praises amongst the institution. Like I said, it's a capture. All these trophies, like the trophy wives and these things, it's just an ideology. Principle is everlasting, and those who are by principle will always have the principled results. If you love yourself, you will never sacrifice yourself unto a lie to please others that are not loving you for yourself, for the actuality of who you are. And if you have to edit yourself in this physicality, in the mentality, in the emotionality, to be accepted into a system that has been disingenuous and unfair in its treatment of you, then it's all crazy. Why would you want to do that? They're not genuine. And you're going to even harm yourself more to please your disingenuous master. How could value come from that? Broken families come from that. Jealousy of the highest envious order come from that. Tribalism and gang warfare come from that. While they live from true personage of unity beyond belief, like we did before. Our separation, as I said in a previous video, is not ideological, is not behavioral, it's ideological. And the ideological came through the thought division augmented into us because we were subjugating in all these European clans, tongues, and identities, subjuncts under them, servants under them. And so we grow up with all these splintered identities, unable to see ourselves as our actual selves, going through actually the nomenclatures, the etymology of confusion, not seeing value in how your grandparents spoke. It's time, because information is expanding, that we see the director and the screenwriter and the screen actor and the screenwriters guild for what they are, the covens, carrying on the philosophies of the Platonic, of the Hegelian, of the Oppenheimers, of the Nietzsches, of the Hitlers, of the Stalins. They are carrying on the Edomite tradition of war and bloodshed and destroying the children of Israel, Jacob and Ishmael, the Moorish, the Moabite, the Yehudi all the aboriginals of terra firma, right across the plains, augmenting us, and sometimes we're willingly diving into these gangster labels, these Black Panthering, Peter Pan phantasm, Alice in Wonderland wanderings, stirring us into illusions. While they grow by right principle, we have dysfunctional schizophrenic tendencies as behaviors, distrust, breaking the harmony that is communion, that is community. The environment is so toxic, how could you live in peace in it? How do you think it got so toxic? It's the ideas that creates the behaviors and the images we hold. And your heroes is from Shaft to Black Lightning, to the original Green Lantern, to whomever they've given us. And sometimes you just take the Superman, you just take the White Augment, they take the Marilyn Monroe. They take these images. They take the I Dream of Lucy, the bewitched and the charmed images, sensationalizing sorcery and darkness and saying that they're black magic sisters and black witches, witch is witch. And it's not just witchery, as in wit, because yes, they are witty, to preserve dark spells and incantations. And yes, some true people were hidden in the darkness because you had to hide. But your hiding never made you a liar or a scoundrel, because if you don't have scandalous behavior, you can't be a scoundrel. And so the marooned communities all across the Americas preserve authentic morality and ethics and culture and heritage. Authentic. And the infiltrators came and they've tried to make it all English and French and Dutch, and destroying the Creole and the Patois and the lingo and the slang. But it lives on within the genes. And this is how you destroy the kinematic edit. In one word, I must say it: be original. Be original. And you can't be original by looking outside. That's a reproduction. It's reproduced. It's not original. It's a carbon, not melanin. Not melanin. It's not melodic. It's not melodic. It's not symphonic. It's satanic. It is discordant, not concordant. These are the things we must remember. Being original. Looking within the deep dimensions of inner space. All galaxies harmonize in the living cosmos. As the source, I am, the Yod He Vav He, manifest as the living breath in the spirit and the presence of the Paracletos, the Ruach HaKodesh. It is the way of the animation. The other way they've augmented us into the cosplay. But you are the original, I and I, the original animation, the original anime. So let us, in the animation of being animated with joy of 4.32 megahertz in the spirit of love, light, and liberty in Yod He Vav He, be original and break out of these kinematic edits. Until next time, this has been the Great Owl. Reasonings right here at the Tree of Life on Tree of Life Television Network. Like, share, subscribe. The Tree of Life Television Network. Continue to support the wizio.com/Tree of Life Television Mini Therapy Healing, seeking the divine light within. Blessings, love. Continue to support the ventures. Give thanks to those who are supporting the cause. Yeah. Always thanks and blessing. Love, light, and liberty. Until next time, continue in your original, natural state of being, living being, man and woman. Love, light, and liberty.